Thomas Formo Podcast nummer 7. Den episoden her har jeg fått besøk av ei fra Polen. Hun heter Ola Wolny, og hun har tidligere jobbet innenfor olje og gass som ingeniør, både i England og i Stavanger og i Harstad. Men nå har hun gått en helt annen vei, og nå handler det om mer mytologi. Det handler om å escape matrixet. Det handler om å forstå hva matrixet er, og hun er veldig interessert i Lofoten og Nord-Norge, og hva det kunne ha vært. Noe som heter for Hyperborea, som er kanskje Lofoten eller Nord-Norge sin Atlantis. Vi kommer til å gå inn på det. Vi kommer til å gå inn på pyramidene, som kanskje kan ha tilholdssted i Lofoten, og mange andre syke ting som man ikke skulle tro var sann. Så denne episoden, den går djupt, så hold det fast.
I see the need for a great reset.
Shut your fucking mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing.
Dude, we're in the greatest conspiracy theory of all time right now.
What is a woman?
Great question. I'm not a woman, so I can't really answer that.
There's people above us that are just trying to control us, right?
Oh, completely. There's people in charge above us trying to control us all. I mean, if the last 3 years haven't proved that.
How dare you? You have stolen my dreams.
Now you're full of shit. Sit down. I'm gonna answer you. I'm gonna answer. Shut up and sit down.
Joe, I swear to God I can prove all this to you.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him...
Shut the fuck up.
Excuse me.
Welcome to the podcast, Ola. So the reason I'm having you on is a couple of years ago, I think it was, I had an inquiry, or somebody wrote an email on one of my websites that was about Værøy in Lofoten, and I was working on that website a lot at that time, and this girl asked about Værøy and how to get here and there, and some caves and stuff like that, and then I told you that actually there are a couple of things about Værøy you may not know about, and you're like, that's actually why we're going there. So you we're getting back to that, but you have a pretty interesting background because you're from oil and gas within engineering, right?
Right. Yes.
And after that, you've kind of gone a different direction, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background kind of doesn't probably justify where I ended up, but I think it's a good starting point because it keeps you grounded. So yes, by background, by education, by lots of experience, I am an ex-oil and gas from the UK, from Stavanger, from Harstad. And at some point I transitioned out of that into a totally different lifestyle, totally different profession. And I have focused more on the mysteries of this world, if you may use that term. And of course the Lofoten area, which happens to be just around the corner from me, Værøy being part of it, Vesterålen, that, as it happens, probably not by accident, have I landed here. This is an amazing place with lots of history, and of course, preaching to the converted, because probably most people are from Norway, so very well-known areas, well beyond Norway. But I'm just feeling that there are certain things that are not well known about Lofoten. It's obviously very much it's a region very much appreciated for the sort of landscape beauty and for the obvious side of things, but I think there are certain aspects which are a little bit less obvious, and perhaps they are the most interesting and intriguing.
Yeah, because that was kind of what we started to talk about, the Hyperborea stuff, and I wanted to try, and I found a little clip. It's 2.5 minutes. Would you like to watch it with me?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Let's see if it works. So, if we go here.
Hello everyone, Today we're going to journey into the icy realms of the Arctic to explore a fascinating topic from ancient history and mythology, the mysterious civilization of Hyperborea. Hyperborea, a name which literally translates to beyond the north wind, is a mythical land that was believed to exist in the far north according to the ancient Greeks. This land was said to be a paradise, where the sun shone 24 hours a day, and its inhabitants lived incredibly long lives, free from war, hard work, and the ravages of old age and disease. The first mention of Hyperborea comes from the Greek historian Herodotus, who wrote about it in the 5th century BC. According to him, the Hyperboreans were a race of giants who lived in a land of abundance and happiness. They were said to be extremely friendly and hospitable, often sending gifts to Greek temples, particularly the Temple of Apollo at Delphi. The Hyperboreans were also said to have a deep love for music and the arts. The god Apollo himself was said to visit them regularly, bringing with him the muses, the goddesses of inspiration in literature, science, and the arts. The people of Hyperborea were said to live in a state of perpetual joy, celebrating with music, song, and dance. But where exactly was Hyperborea? This is where the mystery deepens. Some ancient sources place it to the far north of Greece, beyond the land of the Scythians. Others suggest it was located in the British Isles, or even in the Arctic itself. The exact location of Hyperborea has been the subject of much debate and speculation among historians and archaeologists, but no definitive evidence has been found. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, the legend of Hyperborea has endured. It has been referenced in numerous works of literature and art throughout history. The romantic poet Percy Bysshe Shelley, for instance, wrote a poem called To the Hyperborean, in which he imagines a utopian society in the far north. In modern times, some have even suggested that Hyperborea might have been the original homeland of the Indo-European people, before they migrated south to populate Europe and parts of Asia. Others have linked Hyperborea with the lost city of Atlantis, or with Thule, another mythical northern land mentioned by ancient Greek and Roman writers. While the truth about Hyperborea may never be known, the legend continues to captivate our imaginations. It serves as a reminder of our ancient ancestors' desire for a utopian land of eternal happiness, a place free from the hardships and struggles of everyday life. Whether or not Hyperborea ever truly existed, its story continues to inspire us to dream of a better world. So that's the story of Hyperborea, the mysterious Arctic civilization. It's a fascinating piece of ancient history and mythology, and I hope you enjoyed learning about it.
Did you hear the sound?
No, I did not. I missed the sound, but I could read the subtitles.
Okay, that's good. So, you know a lot about this, right?
Well, it is one of the topics that's quite close to my heart and quite close to what sort of area I've moved into, which I would say probably has always been somewhere at the background there, even though my professional career and my sort of, that immediate interface was obviously more towards that corporate professional environment. I think we have to understand that if you want to explore these kind of topics, you have to kind of open up to a variety of different angles, and that's what's truly close to my heart, because you are not going to really understand mythology, you're not going to understand the ancient accounts or even the indigenous accounts. You have the Sami people here and their history, without opening up to sort of a different level of interpretation of the messages and sort of what sits underneath the official version of these, whether that's mythology, whether that's legends, whether that's fairy tales. I think we have to be open to the fact that this is not by accident, that regardless of geography, the stories seem to be the same. And you see, obviously, there are accounts in the Odyssey. So Homer wrote about Hyperborea, pointing to this geography, pointing literally to the northern Norway, the ancient Hålogaland. And here in the Lofoten specifically, that used to be part of that. So the Holy Land. And if you sort of are open enough to understand that these are not just fairy tales of people from the past, constructed to what purpose, right? There must be something more to it. Then you start to unravel so much more and so much deeper mysteries.
So we can kind of compare this to maybe the story of Atlantis, that there was a land before, then it sunk, or something happened, and now it's gone. And that's kind of the same story with Hyperborea too, if I understand. No,
not necessarily, because Hyperborea, I wouldn't sort of necessarily place it in the same category as the Atlantis or Lemuria. I would more place it in a category, Hyperborea. Literally, what it means is beyond the north wind. So this is a geographical description of a land which, from the perspective of the ancient cultures of the south, of course, from their perspective, it was really, really far, far up north. But the sort of the placement, the timeline placement, it doesn't actually take us so much back. We're talking 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago. This is not very ancient. This is in a sense quite recent. So this is not really comparable, I would say, to the story of Atlantis or Lemuria. This is a story of a much deeper mysteries hidden within this region here. Here, and by that I'm based in Harstad, and of course this is for me here, the Lofoten Vesterålen. It's not just Lofoten, it's Vesterålen. It is also sort of encroaching onto the land, the mainland itself. And I would say that this is pretty recent story. The echo of this story can be found in local legends here in the region. It can be found in the accounts and in the books of Helena Blavatsky. So of course, one of the occultists, one of the ladies involved deeply in ancient studies, in mysteries, into studying the esoteric and the occult sciences. So she mentions specifically Hyperborea. She makes references to Hyperborea being here. And also in Norse legends and in the Norse sort of folk stories dating back to the 17th century and even a little bit earlier, there are already also accounts that there's sort of commentary that you can find of this place being ancient Hyperborea. I think the issue is more around understanding what are we dealing with, because it is, is this only a mythological story? What's the point of that, right? That's there must be something deeper to it. There must be something deeper around the fact, who are the gods? Who are the gods of the Olympus? Apollo? Who are the gods of the Norse mythology?
Yeah. And
who would be the Hyperboreans in that context?
When I was reading about Hyperborea, I stumbled upon a website that was talking about Værøy and Røst, where Værøy is where I'm from, and it talked again about a landmass that might be to the left of Værøy and Røst. So for me, that in my mind, I went, oh, maybe it's because Atlantis also sunk, and maybe it was a civilization before and all that stuff. But it's also written about a lot in Greek mythology. So in my mind, that says it's later. So it because Atlantis, wasn't it? Who was the guy who talked about Atlantis? It was. Anyways, he was talking about long ago for Atlantis, but with the Greek mythology, they're talking about Hyperborea like it exists recently.
So that's my point, right? That's the point. Okay. So Hyperborea is not mentioned in a context of ancient history to the ancient Greeks. It is mentioned in a context of parallel land to the ancient Greeks, right? Which is why it found its space into the Odyssey by Homer. It found itself into mythology. It can be traced back to Greek mythology. So obviously we're talking about some kind of parallel existence of a different geography that they would have been referring to, and as for the land that would have sunk, or perhaps an island that would have sunk, absolutely this is reflected in Norse legends as well, and specifically, well, you know that well better than I do, but as you go out towards Varøy and then Rust and then even further out there, right, we get to Treniken. Treniken is
at the Rust, right?
That's past Rust.
Yeah.
That's even further out.
Yeah.
And so Treniken is sort of specifically, it's an area of few islands, and this one island, there is another cave there. Cave with sort of drawings inside of a sacred union, and when you sort of look at the descriptions, even in the mythology, the Greek mythology around that area, it's very clear that there used to be some kind of landmass, there used to be some island or whatever that was, right? Which doesn't seem to be there now. So it would have sunk. But I like I say, in terms of the descriptions of Hyperborea, it did not specifically refer to that landmass only. It is describing the whole area of Hålogaland at the time, the Holy Land, extending across Lofoten, very important sites that can be found also out sort of towards the center of Lofoten. So we have around Leknes, very important sites, including the goddess's grave, for example. We have the Svolverieta, which is the union of the knight and the lady. Svolver, the city of light today, right? The city of light. But back in the day, that was the city of the sun. So that's the original meaning there. So what and Apollo, right, who is told to be visiting Hyperborea very often. Why is there so many references to the sun across Lofoten?
And also, when you look at all the different, if you see Norway in a map, you can see all the different spots where there are cave paintings.
Exactly.
And they're exactly in this area that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And
so of course we have caves as well within Lofoten Islands, right? So you don't have to get out on Varøy, you don't have to get out on Treniken. You can take a boat at the sort of tip from Å or from Moskenes, go a little bit around, right? The tip of Lofoten. There are caves there as well. There is a cave with There is a cave there. Pardon?
In Å?
Not in Å. It's you have to take a boat because you cannot get there. There is no road that leads there, so you have to get there by boat or perhaps hiking. But probably that's gonna take a long time. Okay. So you kind of have to take the boat from Å, and you have to sort of go all the way around to the other side. So you follow the shore of Lofoten all the way to the tip, and then you come back on yourself from the other side. There is a cave as well there with drawings. So they are in a variety of different places. This is not specifically one place. So you see this area was much larger than sort of ascribing that only purely to Rust, Varøy, and Treniken.
It's kind of interesting because if I were to think that I want to leave a message and I want that message to last for, let's say, 5,000 years, I would not have chosen paper as my medium of choice to kind of send
the message. Yeah.
I would have chosen like a stone. And then I would like written something on the stone and so something like that, or I would have painted something in a cave that I knew were protected. So if you wanna send information into the future, you write in stone or you write within caves. So I'm wondering, in Lofoten, in Helgeland, all these places, are the paintings some kind of message from before, or is it just some kid who wanted to paint some stick figures with red paint?
Well, this is you just touched on one of the most important things to dive into this to really understand what are we dealing with. And this is where things might get a little bit more maybe esoteric, but well, that's just what it is. Unless if we want to know the truth, then we have to go there. First of all, you see, like I mentioned before, in order to really understand and explore deeper the mysteries, the true meaning of what's been happening here, what is really the content of these legends, what is really content of the mythology, we need to understand things not from a scientific perspective only, because the science is very limited. Science, which is based on sort of logic and analysis. And mind you, I'm very well versed in that, because my background, I'm an engineer in oil and gas. So trust me, I have all the scientific scrutiny that you can imagine. So I'm not ripped out of reality. However, I happen to have my sort of other leg, if you want, in a little bit less analytical side of things and a little bit more metaphysical. So here we need to creep into the area of so-called alchemy. Alchemy, which is not some kind of magic, it is not some kind of witchcraft. Alchemy is literally the nature, our nature. It describes the nature, specifically it's linked to the nature of a woman, and it predates anything it predates shamanism, it predates everything, because it describes the nature, it describes the full capacity of a woman's physical, hormonal, metaphysical, energetic construction. Woman kind of walking between worlds, because she's obviously the one who brings souls into this reality. So women back in the day, when we go back before patriarchy, women were seen in a totally different light. And this is critical if we want to understand these paintings and the whole notion. Why is it in caves? Why couldn't they have done it somewhere else, on a rock somewhere? Why does it have to be in a cave? What is the significance of caves? Why not, build some settlement and do it there, right? I mean, we have Viking settlement across Norway. Could have done it in some kind of house, right? But no, it's been done in a cave, and it's been done in red. It's been done in color red. They could have just been, using some tools to just try to draw something or write something without the color. That would have been even easier, right? Literally like carve out. The shape's gonna stay. What's the problem? But no, they specifically painted with red paint. Someone painted with red paint. Why? When you go back before into our history, before the times of patriarchy, the landscape looked entirely different. The landscape was very much based on reference to the feminine principle, to women, because women were the life givers. Women were the ones who stood between worlds. Women were the shamans walking between worlds. That is absolutely supported by archaeology, by the sort of studies of the history and anthropology. And even you actually have a lot of artifacts and sites in Norway which literally confirm that back in the day there were women who were not associated with any man, and they were very wealthy. They sort of held very high positions. So clearly, even here in Norway, you have sites which confirm that would have been the story back in a day. Why am I talking about it? Because there is a very special significance of caves in that context, And there is very special significance of the color red and why those paintings would have been done in red, because you have to remember that when you enter the cave, and of course nowadays when we enter caves, we might have some flashlights, we might have some sort of light that you can mount to your head, and it's all quite okay, right? You can navigate. But back in the day, that wasn't the case. They would enter the cave with fire, or they would enter the cave actually without. Total darkness. So who are the paintings for? Because in total darkness, nobody's watching. So nobody can see. So back to your question, are these paintings a message to someone in the future? Well, we have to kind of dig a little bit deeper into the alchemy, because you see in the shamanic, in the alchemical teachings, the caves were the places of a feminine sort of presence. They were deeply connected to the feminine principle, and they were like extensions of the womb of creation, which is pretty much reflected in every ancient text. The Bible starts like that. The Kabbalistic text starts like that. Any tradition starts with the creation, which has been, those texts have been tampered with to an extent, because of course, they need to reflect the patriarchal view of the world, which was ushered in afterwards. So the official narrative has tampered with these original meanings of these texts, but you can still trace it back to that original account, and that looks a little bit different. All of the myths of creation around the earth, all of the sacred texts, whether that's the Bible, whether that's the Torah, whether that's any other tradition, they always talk about creation, and the creation of the world, creation of this reality, and it is always linked back to the feminine principle. It is always talking about water. It is always talking about the womb. And the funny thing, yeah, go on.
So is this a kind of a analogy for the cave being like the womb, and
absolutely
inside with the red that's like the blood? And
absolutely, and that's absolutely what it is. That's exactly.
And you step out to the light from the cave?
It's not so much step out to the light, because we have to be a bit careful with this whole concept of the light, which is mostly a new agey kind of hijacked concept and twisted. But it's the womb. Every cave in the world, that connotation to the womb, as into the womb of the earth. Because we being here, right, and that's a teaching which is again reflected in pretty every indigenous culture, right? They very connected to the earth, to the principle of the earth mother, very connected to the cosmic principle as well. So the cosmic womb and the earth womb. Yeah. After patriarchy came in and changed it into the father in the sky, and sort of wiped out the mother, the earth mother, because that was some kind of folklore, etc., and paganism, and that was scraped, because father in the sky is part of the, not just the patriarchal, but there's something more about it, about ushering in of all the religions. But originally the understanding of this world, and mind you, look at your Norse mythology, right? And the concept of tree of life. And the concept of tree of life is specifically, the tree of life, Yggdrasil, is specifically divided onto three sort of parts, which is the upper kingdom, the middle kingdom, and the lower kingdom, the underworld. Yes. So we are, as humans, we're living in the middle kingdom, but we are very intimately connected, right? We're connected to the upper kingdom and to the lower kingdom. Yeah. So we also have to understand that certain accounts, certain representations in mythology, this is not just Norse mythology. The concept of tree of life is repeated across all cultures. So this is not just Norse mythology. It's just that Norse mythology is very, very descriptive in that context. But clearly there is some kind of connection. It's not like we are only in this world here. There is a observance and appreciation of something more, of an upper world and a lower world. Yeah. And specifically the caves would have been the entrance places into that lower world. And that lower world it's not hell. It's not hell in a negative kind of Catholic or Christian way of understanding. No, it was an entrance into the womb of the earth, the womb of creation of the earth. We're kind of encroaching onto very deep alchemical teachings here, so I could go on forever. But specifically the concept of the cave, and mind you, the idea of darkness, as in there is no light, which is literally, when you think about the womb, right? When a baby is in the womb, there is no light there. It's darkness and it's water. Exactly the same idea is repeated for example, in Egypt. You go to Egypt, and in the temples associated with the goddesses, there are always chambers inside, quite in the middle. There are chambers with no windows. Why? It's meant to be creating specifically the sort of environment of total darkness. It is linked to the feminine principle, not because a woman is darkness, because that's nonsense. Because darkness, when a woman spends time in the darkness, literally absent light, it activates something in our hormonal system. And when it activates certain things in our hormonal system, a woman, because that's how we are constructed, a woman can start journeying like a shaman between worlds. This is why women would have been that's why women were the original and the first shamans. So in those caves, those drawings, and the fact that they were in red, and you might be thinking, is it blood? It's blood with something else. It's a blood enhanced. Yeah, it's a blood enhanced with secretion. Because if it was just blood, it would have been wiped out within a few days, probably, right? So that is not just blood. If you ever came across any teachings about cathedrals, for example, in France, Notre Dame, or the cathedral in Chartres, there is something about the tinted glass, the windows, which has all those kind of beautiful tinted glass. Because if you ever been to a cathedral, like a proper cathedral, not a random church, but a cathedral, because they are built in a certain specific way, that when you enter that cathedral and you find yourself inside, outside can be really cloudy. The weather can be really bad. But inside, as you stand inside of the cathedral, I'm not talking artificial lighting. I'm talking about just the sort of tinted glass plus the kind of windows that they have there. It enhances the radiance, and you feel as if it's sunny outside. So very often people who, for example, come to cathedrals to just for sightseeing, and let's say they spend an hour, it's so bright inside without any artificial lighting that when they finish the tour and they are about to leave, they think that it's going to be sunny outside. It could be raining. So there is something added to the very fabric, to the very chemicals used in those, and this has been literally scientifically researched, and it's been tested because the scientists couldn't understand this phenomena, so they thought that they were going to sort of come up with what kind of element, what kind of chemical is causing that effect, and they were trying to analyze. They couldn't come up with any chemical element that matches to begin with. They couldn't find that out. They found something, but that was not, they couldn't sort of find the exact correspondence of what they were seeing there to an existing chemical. So something was present in the mix that was detectable, but it was impossible to identify.
So let me. It's a lot to dissect here, but what I'm thinking now is like if we look at the pyramids, there are talks that the pyramids were healing, healing places, and also in the cathedrals. There's also talks that the music, like the organs or whatever it's called. And also what's it called? Not the chimney, but the clocks. Those who ring, the bells. The bells, yeah. That everything had a frequency of healing to kind of resonate to the people. May it have been that the caves are as well some kind of healing system, like the cathedrals, like the pyramids, or am I?
Well, first of all, I think we have to be very careful about what we consider healing, and I think we have to understand. I happen to spend quite a lot of time not just researching, because researching by itself is not going to give you answers. That there must be a sort of level of consciousness to be able to digest the information. But you see, we have to understand, I've researched extensively the history of the Mesopotamia, of Egypt, Norse mythology, and across all those cultures, you have to understand sort of the construct of this world. Where are we actually living and what happened here? What is the true history? The pyramids being healing, that's a misconception. The pyramids did not have a healing, that was not their sort of role, that was not the primary role of the pyramids. The role of the pyramids was to do with the original, partially with the original sort of network of sort of connections in the network of life in the earth. And another part of the function was to do with the pyramid specifically, because they have this sort of pointy top. They were tools of holding this matrix mechanism, which we know is above us and kind of controls things. So they were literally part of that control mechanism, communicating and sort of holding certain technology in place. They were not healing. The pyramids were not about healing. The healing, you see, this whole notion of healing and sound, etc. Again, we have to understand that the sound has a very special meaning, and the sound goes, when the sound is used in a right way, the sound has ability to destroy, and it has the ability to create and build. But that in itself is, these are all those kind of fancy topics that can be explored, and they are interesting, but the caves specifically, and a lot to do a lot of the history of, for example, the pyramids, the history of the temples in Egypt, the history of a lot of the other temples. I think we're getting a bit eager about, all that being supernatural and all that being sort of having all those qualities, whereas the most supernatural element is in us. And those caves, it wasn't that the caves were healing per se, but the caves enabled us to access certain things, to reconnect in a certain way, because we are also constructed, or should be constructed, as a tree of life. That connection needs to be reestablished. So part of the function of the caves would have been to sort of foster that very, very deep connection and reestablishing of that deep connection. And you can see that because that function continued to live in a variety of forms towards the future. For example, the Native Americans or a lot of other sort of Indian cultures, whether that's the South America, North America, they cultivate the concept of the sweat lodge, right? Sweat lodge, which is a tent where you sort of make a fire outside, you make a fireplace, you stick stones, big stones into that fire until they heat up to really, really high temperature. And then you carry those stones into that sort of tent, into the sweat lodge. It kind of feels like a sauna, okay? This is I wouldn't say it's an equivalent because our saunas are electric and not very spiritual, right? But it is the same concept. So they would create conditions of total darkness in the sweat lodge, and they would bring the heat. So the stones that are heated into that sweat lodge, and the men would sit in there for purification purposes. And that sweat lodge was serving as literally, if you ask Native Americans, if you ask native people from whether that's the Inca, whether that's the Aztecs, etc., the sort of the future generations, they will tell you that the sweat lodge is the sort of that's the connection to the womb of the earth. So all cultures in the past knew about the importance of the connection to the womb of the earth, specifically for women. But that purification mechanism was also working for men, for example, in the sweat lodge, and specifically in the caves, the drawings with the color red, which is very significant. Obviously, the blood is very special. I mean, look how many thousand years has gone by, and we still see those drawings. We still see the color red, and for an environment which is of a total darkness, for somebody trying to leave us a message, it's a bit suboptimal, right? It's probably not the best place to do it. So was that the purpose of those drawings? Not exactly. It's a little bit like looking at the all the artwork and the hieroglyphs in Egypt, in those temples without windows. It would have been total darkness. So what's the point of placing them there? Why wouldn't you place them outside so that somebody can actually read? Because these drawings and these hieroglyphs, they served a bit of a different purpose. They kind of told a story associated with what happens inside there. They were not messages for the future. They were not messages for, people like us to come and kind of have a look and be surprised. They were describing the story of what is happening in that chamber. What is the significance?
Would you say that most of the mythologies are kind of stories on the same concept? So, for example, with the Sumerian mythology, you have Enki, you have Enlil, and kind of Enki he's known as the water god or something, and Enlil is kind of the higher up, up in the sky god, and then you have the sister that's in the middle, and they're playing too with like kind of the Midgard and the higher ups and the lower with these gods. No,
not exactly. I think we have to understand for people to really understand what is going on with mythology. First of all, first thing, mythologies are not just these are not fairy tales. These are not good stories. Mythologies, every mythology, regardless of geography, it's a true account of history. It has been tampered with, so you have to be careful, because the myths, the history is written by the victors, not by the losers. So we're gonna get a certain account which serves a certain agenda and a certain group of people. You're not gonna get the original truth, or you're gonna have to dig very deep, and you kind of have to know what you're looking for to get that. So these what you're talking about, the Enki, Enlil, and all the Anunnaki, so that's the Mesopotamian side of things. We have to understand who they are, right? So this whole context of and we really have to go beyond this whole notion of conspiracy theories, because conspiracy theory is a term injected
by the CIA.
Absolutely, injected into the mainstream by the CIA following the assassination of in the 60s of JFK, because this was the way to start shutting down and ridiculing and really sort of pushing to the margin anybody who would question the official narrative, anybody who would be speaking against the official narrative. That was a way to discredit, that was a way to ridicule. So that label of a conspiracy theory was manufactured for a purpose, and that purpose being a cover-up. Let's not look there. And that obviously, there are forces in this world which are working very meticulously behind the scenes to maintain certain worldview, that people maintain. Absolutely, there you go. That people maintain certain worldview, and those that start to question, well, they need to be ridiculed, right? So they need to get a bad label, and we need to laugh at them. And mostly those that laugh are the ones that know the least. So let's understand that if people want to be healthy, if people want to be safe in this world, if people want to really understand what's going on, it is time to open yourself, and it is time to go beyond the limitations and the comfort, because very often the labeling of a conspiracy theory comes from fear. Because I don't want to look there. I want to keep wearing, a blindfold, and I want to pretend that everything is okay. Well, unfortunately, we're past that point. So the reason I had to go here is because when we look at Mesopotamian mythology with the Enki, Enlil, Inanna, etc., you have to understand that this is not a mythology. This is a story. This is a true account of an invasion that happened here on Earth many 100,000 years ago by a different race. Okay, so different race comes here, and mind you, that gets reflected in every single geography, including here. Norse mythology and the story of the gods of the Norse mythology, Thor, Odin, Freya. Why is it always the same? If you actually take a little bit of interest into the mythologies, it's always the same story. The gods are the same. They are interchangeable, whether that's the Roman, whether that's the Mesopotamian, the Greek, or the Norse. There is always a woman somewhere there. There is always few other men. Interesting, right? Freya, Inanna, Isis, Aphrodite. Always the same sort of qualities, representation of the same things. And of course, I know that people might be there thinking, well, that's just what happened because people were traveling and they were spreading the same stories. Look, you've been fed lies, okay? This is another government mainstream story to keep you quiet and not digging too much, so that you don't start questioning too many things. It's time to open your mind, okay, and not call yourself too intelligent because you've been fed the propaganda. So unfortunately, that's where we all have to go. And like I say, I've been on one side, I've been on the other side, so I have pretty balanced view. And back to your question, in the attempt for these beings to control this realm, which, mind you, they still, up until today, this realm is controlled. Not in a sense that there are some extraterrestrials sitting outside of my house, but in a sense that, things are done in white gloves. So they have left a bunch of their sort of middlemen in human form. These are people beyond the governments. These are people above the governments. All the governments report to one. This is why they are so desperately trying to drive this agenda towards one world government, because that's really how it operates. Everything is an illusion that there is some kind of democracy and choice. But the point back, because everything is connected here, the point back to what you've said, part of this big lie and part of this big sort of twist for us to not be able to see the truth, so that they can continue to operate behind the scene in disguise, was the fact that they would inject themselves into mythology. They would inject themselves into our legends, and they would flip them. So, and they would inject themselves in terms of their capacities to what would reside in our memory, and they would associate that with them instead of what it should have been originally associated with, such as creating religions. So them coming in and creating religions and convincing billions of people in this world that there is a godfather, and I don't even want to go down that route because it's not necessary right now. But the point being, they have controlled the narrative for thousands and thousands of years. So we have to be able to discern between the true original meaning of what we are looking at, whether that's through mythology, whether that's through the legends or fairy tales or ancient texts, versus what has been flipped on purpose. You know, the heroes coming in and the heroes murdering the virgins, the hero murdering the women, the hero murdering anybody who stands in their way. That's in the Greek mythology, that's Roman mythology. There is a lot of deeper meaning to the mythology and to all those texts.
It's funny when you talk, because I see that everything you say, you kind of, the puzzle is so big, the web is so big, with all the information you gotta go and find for yourself, and all that information is held back and twisted and turned.
Absolutely.
So you need good eyes to kind of see the whole puzzle. You have one brick here, one brick there, a new brick here, and it takes time to see the whole picture. But and even though you're not, or we who live in this world, we do not agree on everything, but we see kind of the same picture. We can see the outlines. Yeah. And it's funny when you talk, because I get so many questions, because we go through so many different topics. But going back to the Sumerian myth, when I believe that this myth is something that happened to, and I think it's funny, like the stone tablets. I think I got them here actually. These ones. Mm-hmm. Like when we read the Bible, that's like, I don't know, 2,000 to 4,000 years old or whatever. These stone tablets are much older. So I think that the stone tablets are what created, or what's the derivative of the stone tablets are the religions. So we got Christianity, we got the Islam, we got all these religions, but I think everything is kind of taken out of those tablets.
Yeah, but I think we need to go beyond that, because this is that kind of view that, you know, okay, the Bible was an original, it was actually coming from before, but I think we might miss the point of why was the Bible put in place. The Bible is not old. The Bible is, you know, something around 14 to 1800 years old. Mm-hmm. The Bible is not written at the time of Jesus. The Bible has been put together afterwards, several hundred years ago afterwards, and there's been sort of Vatican meetings in which it was decided what to keep and what to take out. This is why the Bibles do not represent any Gnostic scriptures, because that was inconvenient. Because the Gnostic, if you look into the Gnostic texts, they openly and specifically call out the so-called archons, which is literally the ones who came and enslaved humanity. So whether that's the Sumerian Anunnaki, so the Enlil, etc., Anu, they just get the different name depending on geography. So in the Sumeria, that's the Anunnaki, and what you've mentioned, right, the Enlil, etc., etc. in the Olympus, right? The Greek mythology, we have the Zeus, we have the that shebang. Here in the Norse mythology, we have the Thor, we have the Odin, we have that. They are not different; they are the same. It's the same story spoken about in different geographies, because this was a worldwide operation when they've come here and they enslaved people. So the Sumerian tablets that you referred to, the tablets that you referred to, yes, of course, they are very old, but they also, they represent part of they sort of capture part of that enslavement history, part of how it happened, part of what went down here. Whereas the Bible and these texts, originally, remember that the Bible, before it's been translated into English or into any other language, it would have been translated 10 times. So how many, it would have been translated from the original languages, Aramaic and the Hebrew and and later the Latin, and only then into English, and only then further. So, not only we're dealing with the mistranslations, but in the very, very beginning, we're dealing with a controlled narrative which takes away what's not convenient and puts in what they wanted to put in there. For example, in the original version of the Bible, reincarnation was there. Reincarnation onto the earth. When you go back to the Hermetic texts, sort of accredited to the Hermes Trismegistos, you will find very clear description of the reincarnation mechanism as a mechanism of enslavement into this realm, onto the earth. This is obviously not to do with any benevolent forces doing that. This is part of this construct which has been put in place by those that came and enslaved humanity, the Anunnaki, the gods, the false gods. And religions, in the end, finally, this whole notion of religions, of a god that you have to pray to, that will maybe, if you're good enough, maybe will grant you something, maybe you will go to heaven, but he loves you so much, but if you don't behave, then you will go to hell. I mean, come on. This is not a concept coming from any benevolent force. This is a concept of a psychopath. Yeah, this is a concept of deserving. So humanity has been, religion is part of a way to keep people in that enslavement. And it's not so much about whether it's been derived from Sumerian tablets or not, because some things have been, some have not, but it's more about the purpose. What was the purpose of those two?
Are you talking about, when you're talking about the Matrix, like escaping the Matrix and all that stuff, is that in the sense of like getting out of the corruption and all that, or is it like a soul entrapment here on Earth and we reincarnate back on Earth all the time and we can't get out?
That's what all the ancient cultures knew about the entrapment, about the soul reincarnation trap. It is part of this matrix sort of control mechanism. It is the soul reincarnation. So if you don't know how to die, this is what the Gnostics say, and the Hermetic text as well. If you do not know how to die, and by that I mean that if you do not know how to navigate on the other side after you die, you're gonna be pulled in onto the reincarnation trap. That's the whole white light, right? That's the whole, when people see the white light, that's the moon. So the moon is part of the reincarnation trap. So it literally, the soul is being, I mean, think about what kind of technology is it that it can capture a soul. It can capture a soul and it can send it back to incarnate. What kind of technology is it, right? It's mind-blowing.
So
but
don't go against the light, right? Or,
basically, don't go to the light. But you see, this is the interesting thing, that we back in the past, and that knowledge, it was still cultivated and it was still tucked away into the indigenous cultures across the world, where shamans or devdulas, so-called devdulas, when somebody was dying, they would guide you through that process so that you would not be pulled to back onto that reincarnation mechanism, but you would have a chance to escape. Is that the way to escape the matrix? Well, after death, yes. This is why Mary Magdalene in the Gnostic text, she says, unless you resurrect by life, after death, it's impossible. Forget it. There is no resurrection. And again, another thing, resurrection, misunderstood concept. Resurrection is not about coming back to life from the dead. That's a misunderstood concept, including the false propaganda by the church. The true resurrection is about the resurrection of the soul, as in you will never be able to free yourself from this matrix unless you know how to die, unless you already consciously are aware what's happening on the other side, and you will not be lured in the wrong direction. You will not be lured and go down the wrong path. So the indigenous cultures back in the day, and not only, these are the mysteries of a lot of the secret societies. They would know how to die, what to do, basically, what to do after death, so that you can actually escape. You can escape this realm rather than just be tossed between heaven and earth, as the Hermetic texts say. You're tossed between heaven and earth indefinitely, which is the reincarnation trap.
So there's been scientists that have kind of researched a lot about death, and they have interviewed a lot of people who has died and then come back. And everybody is talking about this light. You're saying now that if I die and if I see this light, what should I do?
Well, first of all, you should know that the light is a false light. It's right now the conditions have changed a little bit, okay? Because we are actually living, literally right now, we are living at the end times. We are living at the end of the world. The Ragnarok has started. So this mechanism of control of this realm, there is like an error in it. Okay, so things are not fully working anymore, which is good news. But back until certain time, and I don't know, until I get there, I don't know 100% to what extent it still works and to what extent it doesn't. But in general, first of all, not everybody sees the light. Okay, remember that what's released and what people talk about is what somebody decides to talk about, right? So it's not necessarily that is the only thing that you're gonna see, because I personally met people who died and they say they didn't see anything. It was darkness. They didn't see anything. They haven't even gone that far as to be sort of guided towards the light. So it's not like that's the first thing you see. But yes, the light, the false light, the light that you see, the end of the tunnel light, is very likely the light of the moon, sort of attracting you, because the moon is very inherently linked to the reincarnation trap. So the moon is the one, in where I come from, and in the again, indigenous cultures, a lot of the indigenous cultures knew very well that the moon is no good news. And you see, the official narrative has flipped it around, and now all the women are told, yeah, a lunatic, exactly. But the official narrative flipped it around, and women are told, worship the moon, right? I mean, connect to the moon, connect yourself.
That's like the feminine stuff, like the sun is the masculine, the moon is the feminine.
And everything is flipped, because that's not true. First of all, the moon is not and never has been. Look into mythology, look into a little bit beyond, the last 20 years, New Age nonsense. The moon is masculine to begin with, okay? The moon is fake, as in the moon has been put in place as part of the mechanism of the matrix. It is not a natural satellite. It does not serve any benevolent purpose. So the moon is not good news. The sun has always been for the ancient cultures, the sun was feminine, because the sun is a portal. The sun acts as a doorway out of this realm. So of course it's gonna get bad marketing, and it's gonna be flipped, right, to mean the opposite.
The trick of the devil.
Right, exactly, which is what they've done with everything and everywhere. And part of the you have to know what happened here. So after you die and you see that light, you're being drawn to it. A lot of people talk about seeing some relatives or seeing some, if you're a Catholic, you're probably gonna be shown Jesus. If you are from another faith, you will be shown your savior that comes to you and guides you there. This is deception. This is deception. This is deception to, in a minute, incarnate you back down here. So and that is, look, this is not me coming up with some nice story. This information is out there. This information is literally captured in the ancient text. It's captured in the Hermetic text, in the Gnostic texts, which have been on purpose hidden and disconnected from the sort of Christian church and Christian texts. So they are not allowed to be connected to the Bible, or these are not the kind of teachings that you will hear about in church or anything to do with religion. Why? Well, because they have truth in them, right? Because there is a true representation of this realm and true representation what happens, the control of this matrix and what happens after death. So that's what we have to navigate.
I'm a little bit over time here. Can I keep you for 10 more minutes?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So I'm wondering, when it comes to the moon, one of the arguments for the moon and the link to the feminine is the monthly, what's it called, menopause or something?
It's not the monthly menopause, but
what's it called?
Menstruation.
Yeah. But
yeah.
that's first of all, originally, the moon, we had 13 moons or months, right?
No, it's not that originally we had 13 months. It's just that if you look at every month having 28 days, then the year 365 days comes to, or 66 comes to 13 months, right? So in a year we have 13 lunar months, but 12 solar.
Okay. So one of the arguments is that the moon is linked to the feminine or to the woman because of the menstruation. That's about 28 days, but that's the sun as well. Is this what you're saying?
No, that's actually something else. So we have to flip it around, okay? We are told that that's how it is, that women are connected to the moon because of that, whereas no, because if you read Rig Veda, or if you read other ancient texts, or if you dig into the again native cultures and their teachings, which is obviously not mainstream, you will find out that the moon has been put in place. Enuma Elish, right? You yourself referred to the Sumerian, for example, the Sumerian mythology, the creation myth, the Sumerian creation myth, even that includes putting the moon onto the orbit. So the moon is not natural. The moon has been put in there to serve a purpose. And the purpose is control of women, because we happen to be built in a certain way, which is naturally, if we can be in our full alchemical essence, this matrix cannot exist. So this the way this, and this is not about fighting the matrix, because this is not our domain. Women don't fight, but we happen to be constructed in a certain way that when we have access to our full alchemical essence, it naturally dissolves the fabric of this matrix. So this control mechanism, this control system cannot exist.
Is this what they're trying to prove or say in the movie Matrix, where Neo and Trinity kind of, when they get the love, they can kind of hack the whole shit?
Well, the thing is that you actually, this is not about the union between a man and a woman. This is specifically how women are designed. I've not actually watched the end of that one, so I watched until a certain point and I just let go of it. But yeah, I mean, I guess love being the answer. Yeah, as a vibration, because you see, alchemically, love equals gold in alchemy, and the low vibrational emotions such as fear, misery, etc., that's lead. So alchemical lead, turning lead into gold, it's not about chemical process. We're not talking about those two substances or two chemical elements. We're talking literally about turning lower vibrational energy into higher vibrational energy. That's the transmutation, and that goes through a woman. That goes through a woman who has access to full capacity of her alchemy, which this matrix has disabled in women. And the moon plays a very strong part in that. So the moon, so that I need this to be understood. The reason why you think that woman's cycle is connected to the moon is because the moon has been brought in, and it's the moon that controls our cycle, not the other way around. It's not that we have a cycle and it happens to be corresponding to the moon. The moon turned women. I mean, think about it. Which other mammal or animal our size, yeah, I'm not talking about the hamster or the rabbit, I'm talking about our size in the animal kingdom, in the nature kingdom, the lion, the zebra, whatever. Which other mammal is designed to menstruate, to be in heat 13 times a year? None. Because animals are in heat one time a year, maybe twice, but one time, right? So there come a time, and it's always at the same time, which is around springtime, so that when the pregnancy happens, the child is born at the time of highest survival rate. So not in the winter when there is no food and no nothing, but a woman is right now capable of getting pregnant 13 times a year, right? I mean, every month that possibility is present. And on top of that, if you look to the animals, because I'm getting somewhere with it, okay? So just bear with me. On top of that, with the animals, the time for the animal, just to give you the sense, because we need to start looking at things for what they really are. The time where that lioness or whatever can get pregnant is exactly when she's in heat. Not outside of it, which means she has full control. She knows exactly when is the time that she can get pregnant and when she can't. With women, it's the opposite. When we menstruate, that's actually not the time to get pregnant. The time to get pregnant is anyone's guess, actually, because it's somewhere in the middle, but kind of, who knows? Because maybe if you are, if you don't have exactly a predictable sort of cycle, then maybe it's not exactly in the middle. Maybe it's a week before, maybe it's a week after, and actually nobody knows which is doing what. It takes away the woman's ability to be in control of her own body, to be in control of what she wants, whether she wants to get pregnant or not. And I will tell you something more, and that may really surprise you. But back in a day, women would not menstruate 13 times a year. Women had full control over their cycles, and they would menstruate when it suits them. Wow. They would absolutely go back, read, for example, Campbell or Lawrence Gardner talks about a little bit, reveals some of that, but not only. Again, ancient texts will show you that a woman once a year would be able to get pregnant, not every 5 minutes. And women, even up until the 80s, now, 40 years ago, women in some cultures, in some sort of more maybe remote areas, they would still be able to control their cycle. They would not be getting, and this is nothing to do, please do not think that this is to do with something being wrong with a woman. Oh, she should have been going to the doctor. No, women had control over their cycles, and when they wanted to get pregnant, or when they wanted that cycle to happen, they would navigate that process. So the moon and the woman being connected to the moon is not the original design. It is the result of the control of the moon over women. And originally, because of course, another argument is that our pregnancy is also connected to the moon, the time of the pregnancy, the number of days. Actually, it doesn't come from the moon. The moon mimics another celestial body, which is deeply connected to women, and that's Venus. Venus as the embodiment of a feminine principle, and there is a story behind it, but we probably don't have time for that. But you see, it's Venus that happens to be, I don't want to sort of get too technical about it, but Venus shows up in the sky in different phases. Nobody knows about it because we associate phases only with the moon. But that's not correct, because originally it's Venus that has phases. She shows up as the morning star, evening star. She shows up as a full Venus, like literally like a full moon type of, and sometimes she's invisible, which is exactly what happens with the moon, right? We have the crescent moon, we have the full moon, and we sometimes have the new moon when the moon is invisible. So the moon, when it was placed on the orbit, it was mimicking, it was sort of given the type of behaviors, and in order for people to really transfer their attention onto the moon, it started mimicking Venus in her behaviors, as in the way she kind of the way she behaves in the sky from our perspective, and what she represents. Because, for example, the pregnancy originally was linked to the time. So it was mathematical equation of counting how many days Venus is in her morning star phase and evening star phase. Those two together come to about 263 days, which is the length of pregnancy when you do the math. So there is a lot of things to do with the movement of Venus that is connected to the woman principle. The moon is secondary. The moon is brought into place, mimicking certain things from Venus. And why is a woman menstruating so many times a year? Because this matrix needed slaves. So a woman needs to be always available to get pregnant.
Did this happen with the Anunnaki gods, or did it happen before or after?
No, it's all the Anunnaki gods. They are the ones, the Anunnaki gods, the fake gods, right? Yeah. Or we call them the Gnostic archons, or we call them the Norse mythology gods. These are the same. This is the same. We're dealing with the same. They are the ones responsible for this construct. They are responsible for bringing in and ushering in this matrix, building the zodiac mechanism to control people, to bring the determinism into this world, to give the feel of a holographic reality which is controlled. There are only certain things that you can see and only certain things that you can do. You do not really have the free will. We need to dive into that deeper, because the free will is something that is it's a perception. We have a perception of a free will. Most of the people that, the ones, I call them, that just kind of go to work and never think any further, there is no free will there. I mean, they perceive things as free will, but they are totally controlled, totally controlled. They are playing out, they are like on autopilot, they playing out the script. The only people that have some control or perhaps some free will are the people that are starting to wake up to what's going on. They starting, the consciousness increases, and it kind of starts to create friction against that control mechanism. Then you start seeing so much more.
I have a million questions all the time. I hope we can do this again sometime in the future.
Absolutely. I mean, as long as I don't get burned at the stake for sharing all these things, and if if there is anybody that actually wants to listen a little bit more, I'll be absolutely happy to come back.
How can people reach out to you if they were to come up on this podcast and hear about it and hear what you say, and they feel like
Sure. So there are sort of two, I think, let's talk about reasons. Why would someone want to reach out to me? One reason would be to perhaps explore a little bit more on the alchemy side, which is what I've kind of talked about in the context of women and our full spectrum of abilities, which we have lost, but it's coming back. So I specifically talk about that, how to reactivate that. So that's probably more for women. I also specifically work with the code of this matrix, which is astrology, numerology. These are not benevolent tools, but these are tools to be aware of in what way the matrix is trying to control you and limit you. So this might be an interesting piece of information for someone who is trying to kind of navigate their way out. So I provide that, and that for those reasons, you can reach me on selfmasteryquest.com. You can sort of have a look and see if you feel guided to perhaps contact me and have a consultation. And another something that's very close to my heart as well is I have started a sort of different way of engaging with people, which is through events and through more personal tours as well. And that I do through my website, mysticalarcticjourneys.com. So I organize tours, meetings, whatnot for people here in Lofoten, and I can show you the Lofoten that you don't know, and I can guarantee you might be from Lofoten and you might know a lot, but there are certain things, especially on that alchemy level, that probably something to still explore, as well as seeing Lofoten from a bit of a different angle. You guys here in Norway, in Lofoten, in Vesterålen, you have the giant petrified trees. One of them being the if anyone's been to Reine area and Hamnøy, specifically as you sort of come out of the tunnel, the mountain, everything looks like a mountain because these are petrified trees, which means they've undergone a process of mineralization, so they look like, well, they are made of stone, right? But really originally these are trees, giant trees that were present in this realm, 20-30 kilometers tall, and they were cut down throughout the time of the Anunnaki. There is a whole story about that. Why were they here? Another one being there is a sort of mass of land between the Kvalvika beach. So it's like two beaches, right? In Kvalvika, and a sort of landmass in the middle. That's another tree. But they are really, it's a lot of them. Pyramids. Yeah. Pyramids are not only present in ancient Egypt or those kind of areas. Lofoten full of pyramids. One of them, of course, being Olsten. So that's Reine area. Another one of them, a pyramid even more clearly visible than the one in Reine, is right outside of Ramberg. So a different type of tour of Lofoten, seeing the energy side, seeing the ancient places linked to the Hyperborea and the true meaning of these places. The Viking Museum. I have a good story with the Viking Museum because I take the groups to the just outside of Leknes, that there is a Viking settlement. I take the groups there, and we always get a somebody from the museum, sort of a tour guide to tell tell us the story. So they tell us the official story, they tell us the Norse mythology, and then I come in and I explain the true meaning of what we just had. So the Viking Museum has been asking me, maybe I should come and work there. So yeah, it's a different view, it's a different perspective of what you might know about the Norse mythology, about the region. Something that's a lot of. I mean, right now, I have people from all over the world coming to see it, but not the Norwegians. So I would absolutely love to open that up if anyone is interested. So that's a very dear thing to me, because of course, I am not from Norway. I've lived up here. I'm from Poland. I've lived up here in Harstad for 8 years. This is honestly, if you look sort of from the sidelines, this is not my climate, this is not my geography, but I just cannot leave because I fell in love with this place because of the energy. And that's something that you have to feel.
These events are mostly for women, right?
No, not only for women. I started off with women only, but I opened up last year. So last year I had a group in November, which was a mixed group, both men and women. So there are certain events which are sort of fixed dates, and some of them are only women, some of them are open for everybody. But outside of that, if somebody wants to explore the website, you will see that I started offering more of personal experiences. So if somebody kind of wants to come with their girlfriend, or maybe alone even, or maybe with a family, sort of few people, I can accommodate all that. And we can also, I specifically want to make that tailor-made to a person. So if someone is looking purely for a sightseeing opportunity or purely for a alchemical sort of exploration, then we can adjust that in terms of days and program, etc. So it's a kind of all-inclusive experience.
If you get that couple that want to join you should. We now on Værøy have the Værøy Fyr, the lighthouse.
Yes, you did say.
Yeah, we have made it so it's extra accommodation on top of on the lighthouse. So now you can stay. Like the couple can stay in the cabins, and you can stay in the lighthouse. So.
Oh. Amazing. I was hoping to see that one day, because we did speak about it before. So, well, if everything goes well, I'll be back on Værøy in June, or maybe even before, again with a group. So maybe something to check out.
Anyways, thank you for taking the time. It was I have so many questions. I really want to do it once more, or 3 times, 4 times more. I have so many questions, but let's just stick to this for now. And thank you so much for taking the time. And I wish you a very good day.
Thank you so much, and thank you everybody, and all the best to everyone.